Tube. This is my Laney 412 cab. I finally know what kind of speakers it has in there. It's got H&H invaders, which are very Celestion voiced, which is why I thought they were Celestians until we opened it up. You wonder what's going on. My drummer over here, he has his own channel. Tell him about your channel.
Well, my channel is Chris Corley. We can put a link. I've not been doing some videos in the past couple of months because I came down sick for a little bit, and I've been really busy with the band and stuff, and it's just kind of taken up a lot of time. But I will get back to shooting some more videos. But since we were here, we decided to go ahead and shoot some of this. We already got kind of deep into it already, but I'll kind of explain what we're doing. This is a 16 ohm cabinet. The way that it was wired to begin with was series parallel. Well, what we're going to do now is I'm metering these speakers. As you can see, if you point down to the meter, I've got 16 ohms. It's fluctuating right there around 16 ohms. That's on one speaker. So each one of these speakers is 16 ohms. What our goal is, if you'll come back up, what our goal is to get this to 4 ohms because the output of this Marshall valve state is 4 ohms. And we're not taking advantage of the full volume of, or the full output of this power section of this amp, unless we're running at 4 ohms. So instead of going out and buying another cabinet, this is what you could do. Parallel wiring is the simplest wiring on the planet. Basically, you're going 1-to-1 with everything. If you look really close here, I have to zoom in. There's a plus right there and a negative right there. So plus, minus. So I don't know if Chuck can get zoomed enough to actually see that because it's carved into that right there. So we're going to leave our leads right here. This is what was going to the jack. This is the hot side. There's your ground. These leads right here are going to stay attached. And what we're going to do is we're going to go positive to positive, negative to negative, and then we're going to jump across. You're going to go positive to positive, negative to negative, or negative to negative, all the way around. What they'll do is, at the end of the day, we're going to have this. Actually, I'll move this one over to this side so it creates the circuit. And basically, what you're going to have at the end of the day, when we're done soldering this all up, this is going to stack the loads of each one of these speakers. So, to put it very simply, when you put a 16 ohm and a 16 ohm together, any of you know that know Ohm's law? What do you get? 8 ohms. You got 2 over here, 8 ohms together. So what do you get when you put 8 and 8 together? When it comes to Ohm's law, you're dividing that in half, 4 ohms. Simple math. It's parallel wiring. The series parallel, what they were doing was starting out parallel, and they were flipping the phase, or the inverting positive to negative and negative to positive, and that made things to where you had your negative for the jack here at the end of the line instead of starting out over here. And that created, by flipping things around, it created a 16 ohm load at the end of the day. When they were done, you still had a 16 ohm load. You can also wire things in series and come up with a different combination too. But for what we need, we're wiring in parallel. So I don't know if he wants to. You want to film any of the soldering of this, or
I mean, we can, but we're just explaining what's going on. But basically, what we're doing is we're converting this because this amp is losing power and it's getting nasty. And and it's not because it's a solid state amp. It's because the amp is starving for power. So to get it loud enough to be heard in the mix, it's getting nasty because it's not getting enough power. It's running at like 25 watts.
or it's not producing the full amount of power that this head is rated at. This head is rated at 100 watts at 4 ohms. If you're running a 16 ohm cabinet, you're not forcing this head to generate that much power.
If you divide that before, wouldn't that mean the head's running at 25 watts?
It would be in the ballpark of that. So what you're doing to try to get that volume out of it, you're cranking the power amp section of it so hot that it's almost like you're overdriving. Kind of like you're doing with the preamp section. You're cranking the gain on the input of that, and you're causing it to be overdriven.
And
so you want your power amp side to remain clean,
or a little bit of grit.
Yeah, well, you want your distortion to happen over here in a solid state setup. You want your distortion and stuff to happen over here, not on this side.
That's
not
true.
on the power side.
True.
There's nothing wrong with saturating tubes. I mean, not to the point of red plating, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Not pushing them, because you get that little bit of compression going on and stuff. But
You do get some okay sounding saturation when you hit the power amp hard, but the problem is with the way we've been having to get it to be heard, it's not pleasant unless it's like in a certain volume range. And putting the amp at the right ohm setting, you'll get more gain without losing your definition, because this amp is still designed to be loud. You have to turn it up.
When we had it on an 8 ohm cabinet, you could tell a difference. It was not feeling like it was like you were hitting a ceiling, like you're squashing things on the back end of of the amp, and it also being as he's using a Epiphone, which is Gibson product, those pickups that are on there, they're not like a JV, so they can tend to have a little bit of microphonic feedback, and that was being heavily accentuated with the power amp section doing what it was doing. So, granted, the one positive thing about this, he wasn't even running the amp to where it was getting hot. So, heat is very destructive to electric components, but it's the kind of the necessary evil of running a guitar amp at the proper ohm load and getting good tone. So
That's what we're gonna do.
yeah, we're gonna have to run it a little hot, but the thing that you don't want to do is when it's rated at 4 ohms and you don't want to put a 2 ohm load on that, because that's putting even more resistance on it, and then you can blow up the power amp section by doing that.
So we've had the opposite problem. We're running it too cold, and it shows in the sound because I'm having to turn this thing so bloody loud that it's ridiculous. Because I had this head many years ago. I read it through a Red Bear cabinet that had 65 watt Heritage speakers from Celestion and 275s mix matched, and I was turning it up to 8, and it sounded great. But on this cab, it barely sounds good past volume 4. But after we get it set up, future demos of this amp will come out, and I think we're gonna get a cleaner sound. I will admit, I do like that the amp does get more upper mids when you get louder. I think it's designed that way. It almost reacts like a tube. You roll the volume back, it cleans up. You play light, it comes out light. You play hard, it comes out hard. It's a little quicker, but being that it's a hybrid, it is close to a tube.
I'm sure they're loving just sitting here staring at me too.
Yeah. Anyways.
I'm modeling for Chuck.
Right. Sorry, ladies. I'm much prettier. But anyways, that's it for now. I'll catch y'all later.